Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. I have to keep my voice down, but the Duchess is sleeping upstairs, and it was a long day. So we're going to be whispering tonight's update. It is 2:50 a.m., and I've been up for 36 hours. So, yeah, how do we sound? Everything okay? I mean, all things considered, I have to hold the microphone right next to my freaking mouth. I'll try not to pop into the microphone. Okay, well, again, this is just an update for my viewers who are watching on YouTube or who are watching over on Twitch. I think this will get saved over on Copper Tropical's channel. I'm not going to be saving this as an update on my main channel. In the morning when I wake up after getting a little sleep, I'll probably do a full update, and so when I can speak a little louder, okay? But let's just go ahead and get into this. I'm going to turn on a display capture. We're not going to do the intro or any of that crap. So here we are. We're still going to be talking about California, and of course, we still have a lot of activity going on. This is what we were expecting to happen, at least somewhat, for it to carry on in Southern California. But I have good news. Some energy has escaped out over to the east, although it is small. It's a good sign. Well, it's just a small amount, though. So a 3 is nothing in comparison to a load of 4s and 5s that we would expect to go across the plate. This means energy is still stuck in Southern California, and I think we already know that. Take a look. And let's turn off the rings and zoom in some more. Okay. So we're looking at like 48 hours worth of earthquakes right now. Let's turn it down just a little bit, and what you'll see is pretty much the same areas moving, but we add in a new pocket up here to the north. So this is what we were talking about previously. Let's go look this up. And our display capture is on. So notice the location is slightly changed, right? The location before where the 7 was, still is the Cyrils Valley location. Well, look at where we've gone to. We've transferred to the north. Again, look at the size of the pocket of earthquakes that has developed up here. Now let me show you where we moved to. Anybody who's been watching my updates for the last day and a half should already know about this location. Look where we're going, guys. Devil's Kitchen. Right here. I mean, this is Devil's Kitchen, Kozo Volcanic Field now. We've moved up into the volcanic field north of Volcano Peak and the lava flows here into the valley. So from down here over to here and now up to here. So let's measure. Let's measure from, well, actually all the way up here, I'm sorry. So let's measure from here to here. That's 13 miles. And measure from here all the way down to next to the mine, another 22 miles. So we've expanded by 10 more miles, has started to break or shift. Now, if there's this at least 3 meters worth of movement that's happened down here to the south, I would think it would also start to shift up to the north and further down to the south. The areas next to this will compensate. That's no brainer. But what I think is happening here, more energy is coming into California from the northwest. Let's take a look. We have a new 3 off the coast. That seems small. We go up here and we have several more 3s. That's pretty small. So it's just in the 3.0 range, but it's still a sign that energy is coming in from the northwest. We need to go check and take a look at the tremor map. Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Now this is showing yesterday's. It won't show the 7th yet. Okay, so 6 is what we get to see. Now, anybody who's been watching this with me will notice something that's changed here. We had a big pocket up here next to Vancouver Island. Now the big pocket has shifted down to southwest Oregon, northwest California. So the big pocket down here is a new development. So this here corresponds to something. Same with this and these down here. Oh, hold on. We also, hold on. Oh boy, hold on. I gotta check before I say it. Oh boy. Yeah, okay, we're right here, guys. We have a series of tremors that are breaking out, and we have a large dam that's right here, but I want to show you where we're really at. This is the dam we're closest to. We're right next to Oroville Dam, southeast of Paradise. Here's Oroville, and the famous spillway that broke apart last year. So now we have tremors that are breaking out right next to it. Tremors are as the plate shifts. We don't normally see the plate shifting down here. This is a new development. As a matter of fact, how many other times do any of my other viewers recall us ever seeing tremors down here in the last 8 years? I don't recall any times seeing tremors down here in Northern California at this spot or anywhere around it. They tend to stick to here, 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 here. We don't see a report happening here, at least that I can remember. And I've got a pretty good memory, so I don't think I'm missing anything. We haven't seen anything here before, plate shifting wise. But we look up to the northwest. Here, this is a big increase. I told you these correspond to something, and these correspond to something. So let's go show you. And let me turn off all my volcanoes. Here we are, southwest Oregon, and the location shown where the tremors are, the vibrating as the plate is shifting, is north of Medford and south of Eugene. You see them all here. So imagine each one of these as a small shift or a small vibration as the plate's moving. So let's go find Eugene and Medford. Here's Eugene, here's Medford, and they're all right in here. So let's look west. What do we have? Like a giant arrow pointing into the spot that's moving. This is one southern arm of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. Now, we go up to the north, and the spot that's moving up here, South Vancouver Island, Northwest Washington. Right? South Vancouver Island, Northwest Washington. This is the Strait of Juan de Fuca, right through here. And let me zoom in and show it to you. There it is. So, here and here. Well, what corresponds here and here out to here? Well, I'll be the northern arm of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. So the center arm here, or the southern arm, pointing into where we're moving here, and this pointing into where we're moving here. There's only a few more spots to be filled in. Oh, wait, they already were just a few days ago. Let me take you back in time. So, go back a day. Oh, yeah, that's right. Go back a day, they were out. They had a system outage on the day of the earthquake, right? Okay, so we go back to the 4th. Look what happened. Look where we were. We're down next to Medford, up in northwest Oregon and southwest Washington. Well, northwest Oregon and southwest Washington correspond with the other pinnacle point of the Juan de Fuca, right here. That's where the other tremors are. Well, there's a few right up here, right next to Mount St. Helens. But the majority are right here. Well, that corresponds with this. So this point, this point, this point, and this point all correspond together on land to what's hundreds of miles out to sea. But why? Why do we get vibrations here, 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 and here when this starts to charge? Well, this is apparently pushing into this. This is Laurentia. This is the North American continent. And here is the fracture zone that meets into the north portion of California. We see energy transfer in from here and go down along the coast. Of course, we would expect that on the San Andreas, but also to go up and around, come down through the valley, and that takes us back to where the 7.1 earthquake is. So, now that you understand how this kind of works, you can understand if we start seeing new 3s, 4s, 5s start to come in from the northwest, that means more energy, even though it's a little trickle, is still coming in. So as it comes in, it's getting log jammed down here. Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the microphone there. Log jammed here, and it's stuck. I've already explained that many times. So we want to see this break out and go over to the east, dropping off 4s and maybe even 5s over at the pumping operations over in West Texas, South Colorado at the New Mexico border, Trinidad, Central Oklahoma, and South Kansas. But this all comes from the northwest, out of the spot I was just showing you, up in Oregon. So it transfers down to California and then transfers over to the east normally. Right now it's stuck. The longer it sticks, the longer we look for a large earthquake to strike right here. Or, technically, we do have to warn everybody back up to here, which is the Bay Area. So I'm watching from the Bay Area down to Searles Valley for the potential of something larger than the 7.1 within the next few days. And when I say few, I mean it, starting yesterday going to the 11th. So we only have a 5-day watch going for this. If you live in California, I've got family in Southern California, and I know they're listening, or at least maybe earlier today, but not now, maybe, I don't know. But I'll have to tell everybody there for the next 4 days, we're watching for the potential of up to a 7.5 to 7.6, something larger than what already hit twice. We started with a 6.5, then we went up to a 7.1. If this doesn't escape out fully over to the east, we're looking at an additional large earthquake to strike. Now, I hope I'm wrong. 100% hope I have egg all over my face, and then I have to come back and be like, well, looks like it didn't hit. But that still means that it would go over to the east and drop off several significant earthquakes along the edge of the craton. Right now, 1 3.0. Now, let me show you where this 3 struck, just to explain to you. If you live in the Midwest, I mean, I've got thousands of viewers that live across these areas. You're due to get hit off what's coming out of California eventually. So while Southern California is on watch for 4 more days for a potential 7.5 back at Searles Valley, most likely, and we can't call that an aftershock, it's a larger earthquake. So look where this location in Oklahoma takes us. Well, let me back it out. Here's Oklahoma. Now look, we zoom in. Here's the epicenter. You'll see these little white pads spread out across the area here and so forth. Now I'm going to zoom in, and you should be able to make out the shadow of the oil well at this point if you're watching the screen. So we're looking at an oil and gas pumping operation across here, and these are all oil wells, oil and gas. So you might know about the term fracking, where they inject water down into the ground. It's called wastewater because they put chemicals. They'll pull water off this pond, for instance. They'll plastic line the pond to prevent it from getting absorbed by the ground because they want to use the water. It's fresh water, rainwater, and so forth. Sometimes they'll mix in brine, make it a salty solution up on the surface. Then they'll put chemicals in out of tanks. Those chemicals then get put with the water down into the ground, many miles, out at angles, sometimes even horizontally, just out in one direction or the other, not vertically. So you think of an oil well just going up and down. These go out, down and out by many miles, a couple miles in each direction. Well, that breaks apart the shale and releases the gas. It also leads to earthquake activity. And it's a weak point in the plate when you have this many. Look how many there are. So you see all these little white dots? Every one of them. Now, okay, that you say, oh, that's only 4 or 5 of them. Look. I mean, I could just randomly zoom in on any one of them. I'm not against oil and gas. All I'm doing is telling you is that the weak points get hit, and look how many they've created. There's 526,000 new drill points across Oklahoma in the past few years. So, I mean, come on. Look at it. All right, so there we are. We've got ourselves a small amount of energy escaping out of California, going over to Oklahoma, but not enough. We need to see 4s and 5s. If we don't see that, it's trapped in California. Now, there's a spot in Southern California. Many people are talking about it. I heard professionals even opining about this, that they're worried about a large earthquake down in LA. Well, let's talk about this really quick. Let's go turn on our 0.0 and greater earthquake feed. For the last 3.5 years, we've been watching an outbreak of small earthquakes take place down here in Southern California. Now, you'll see right now there's a diagonal line of earthquakes going from the LA basin. Really, we can even say from South San Joaquin down to Ventura, breaking over to East LA, and then going down across the famous southern San Andreas and the Imperial Fault. This is actually going over to the east and going down the San Andreas Imperial Fault. That's a change. Normally, we are west of this body of water. this body of water, let me show it to you this way. Right here is Salton Sea Volcano. And we can pause it and read our place marks if you need to read about Salton Buttes. But this volcano here, humans have drilled in, of course, on the sides to get steam to turn these turbines. But Salton Sea is really itself on the San Andreas and Imperial Fault. Let me show it to you. So looking at the USGS tectonic plate and plate boundary map, back it out ever so slightly so we can see California. You see the red line? This is the plate boundary. It goes down to the south and makes a stair-step pattern going down through the Gulf of California. And to the north, it goes up into the Juan de Fuca, which I just got done talking about, this lightning bolt-shaped fracture zone here. So this spot here on the plate boundary tends to go into motion, and it gets pushed. Let's get back over to the earthquakes now. Normally over to the west. So what's over to the west of the body of water? Well, let's turn on the faults now. So faults are fractures in the plate, not all the way through the plate. Does that make sense? So a fault is a crack that forms somewhere inside the plate, as opposed to these thick red lines. Let me back this out and show you the whole planet. The thick red lines are plate boundaries. These are fractures that start at the surface and they go all the way down through the plate. Let's go back to Google Earth now and go look at the San Andreas this way. Turning off our borders and labels. I mean, this is California, so you see the diagonal line here. This is the physical, actual visible from space plate boundary. The San Andreas, of course. Everybody knows about it, San Andreas. But it goes right up through the Bay Area, and we're going to go back to the USGS plate boundary map now. Look what happens when it goes through the Bay Area. It goes right along the coast, right where the ocean is, then meets up with the Juan de Fuca. So the San Andreas and Juan de Fuca are directly connected. We get energy coming out of here, travels down to here. But I told you it goes around and down to Southern California. Well, when it goes around and down, that's where we're blocked right here, right now. So what's going on? The number of earthquakes in Southern California has dropped off dramatically. We normally see stacks of earthquakes down here. The slow slip in Southern California has slowed down. It hasn't stopped, but it's slowed down. New energy will be reintroduced here. There's no doubt about it. And it will flare back up. There's no doubt about that either. But I don't think it's going to be some kind of big megaquake. Famous last words, right? Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood right now. But we have energy that's going around. Let's go back over to the plate boundary map now. It's going around this, sticking to the plate boundary, as opposed to, we're going to turn our faults back on. Whoa. All the faults just disappeared. What the hell? You kidding me? All the faults just disappeared off the map as I was getting ready to show you. No way. Wow, that's weird. Okay, I'm not even going to go there. So, you gotta be kidding me. So we can't zoom in on the faults now? Nope. Blocked or whatever. Okay, so you can't zoom in on the faults now. This is asinine. See these little red lines that you can barely see here on the screen that I can't zoom in on because when I do, they're disappearing off the USGS map now? Hold on. This has never happened. I've been doing this 8 years. Jesus. Well, it's not coming up now at all. It's not a load time thing, guys. All right, whatever. What I was getting ready to show you was the Elsinore and the San Jacinto. The Elsinore and the San Jacinto are two adjacent faults, and we can show you the faults here, even though it's just been cut on the USGS page. For Christ's sake. Let's go and look these up. You know what? Screw it. let's go look up every single earthquake here. Let's start up here all the way to the northwest. I wasn't going to do this, but now I'm going to. We're going to start up here in northwest California. Actually, you know what? Let's go all the way up into Washington and start up here. Start with these small earthquakes. You're probably curious, why are we getting small earthquakes in Washington at this distinct spot? Well, I mean, why not anywhere else in the state, right? Well, let's show you what's here. See how it says Eatonville, Washington? Now, you think the USGS and the professionals would tell you if there was something there, right? I mean, like if it was something significant at the spot that it would say, it wouldn't just be triangulated from some small town 23 miles away. They would tell you. And this is the details page, right? Regional information and so forth. But this is where they would tell you if there was anything significant there. Let's just go ahead and put the coordinates in and show you what's there. You might say, oh, Dutch, looks just like some trees. Well, I guess there are some trees right at the base of Mount Rainier. That's where we are. We're on the side of the large stratovolcano right at the side of Seattle. Now, people in Seattle, you guys all know about Mount Rainier, but it's a large volcano and it's being hit by small earthquakes as the magma chamber is now rising slightly. Like perturbance on the magma chamber all of a sudden. Interesting. Let's go over to the east. See these two earthquakes here, the 1 and 1? They're just two small earthquakes. These two earthquakes are on the edge of what's called the North American Craton. Now, that just sounds complex. Just think of the craton as the interior portion of a plate that's solid, as opposed to the outside edge that's slightly bent. So the solid portion is the interior craton edge. Well, look where the craton edge goes. It goes right up through Montana, doesn't it? Well, those two earthquakes are right along the edge of the craton, which fulfills what we're looking for to happen, but it's so small. We're going to look for this to go up into the 4 or higher range with swarm going down right across the edge of the craton over into Yellowstone. This is Yellowstone right here, and I have a warning going in Yellowstone already, and it hasn't hit yet. Of course, nothing has escaped out yet. That's what's troubling us. That's why we have a warning going for California. Okay? So just understand these two earthquakes are on the edge of the interior portion of the plate, and the set of earthquakes due west is over at Mount Rainier stratovolcano. Going down to the south, we have 2 3s coming in on what's called the Gorda Escarpment, and we'll get the information on this. See how it says Petrolia, California? Yeah, maybe there is some petroleum that might be coming up out of the plate boundary here, but let's show it to you. There's something else right here. A series of undersea volcanoes right here offshore. The Escanaba segment, southern arm of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, of course. And look how many make up this. There are tens of thousands of small undersea mounts, small cone-shaped volcanoes, if you will, that pile up on top of each other just right there alone. Some huge ones, some smaller right next to them. And then over to the west, there's even more. And I mean, you can really zoom in and see the cone shape of each one. So that each one is a small volcanic eruption point going all the way along the ridge. So we're right at the edge of the ridge, right to next to another volcano. Well, a series of them. I mean, to name them would even be impossible. There's 10,000 of them just on that one little ridge right there. So looking back here, let's go get this stack of earthquakes. Well, look what the name should speak for what's at the location. The Geysers, California. Can you wonder what's there? So we'll show you. We'll show you the Geyser Peak, which is right here. It's very small, kind of nondescript little old volcano, but this is Clear Lake Volcano. That volcanic field, actually, but Mount Canocti is on the inside of this volcanic field. So the earthquake, look where it is. A bunch of buildings right here. Interesting. Wonder what those buildings are. Geothermal turbines. These are drill points where they inject human sewage. Yes, sewage. This is where the proverbial SHTF, quite literally in this case, as they're steaming it off. Now first they'll take that human waste and dump it down into the ground, down drill points that go down a few hundred to a few thousand feet. and they get superheated above the Clear Lake volcanic chamber, then brought up via the pipelines to these turbines to turn those fans. So I'm not joking when I'm saying SHTF, because that's just so ironic. Oh boy, alright, let's move on. We'll jump over to the east. Let's go all the way up to this 1.5. What's going on up here? Gerlach Empire. Shallow earthquake right at the surface, 0.1 kilometer. Show you what's there. Longtime viewers should remember this spot. Here's Black Mountain and the Lava Beds State Park. Just to the north, Fly Geyser. Fly Geyser is a man-made geyser. Humans were drilling in to try to get to an aquifer for drinking water, and they actually punctured a superheated area, and since then it's formed a very impressive series of multicolored geysers that are 20, 30, and 40 feet high. As think of a stalactite or a stalagmite in a cave, if the part that comes up off the floor. Now imagine a big mound of that as minerals have come up with the hot water. And again, that was human punctured at Fly Geyser, but right next to Calico Mountains. And then down here we have the Lava Bed State Park. That's where we're at with the earthquake. You see anything in common with all these earthquakes so far? Mount Rainier, volcano. Escanaba Segment and Gorda Escarpment, volcanoes. Geysers, volcano, and Clear Lake volcano. Going back up here, I mean, that's right next to Fly Geyser. And the Lava Beds State Park. Let's go further down to the south and go show you what's at the south tip, or right around South Lake Tahoe. Kingsbury, Nevada. And again, I've got to keep my voice down, guys. My wife is asleep upstairs. We had the longest freaking day you would ever imagine. Family is awesome, but man, today started out crazy. Look where we are. We're just a few miles from Steamboat Springs. Let's get a measurement. 20 miles from the actual center of Steamboat Springs. Now, Steamboat Springs is huge. It's a Pleistocene volcano, and look what we have here. More turbines, more pipelines, more drill points, more points where humans are getting steam to turn the turbines from drill points that are at a volcano. So they've drilled into the volcano. Mother Nature is punched up from down below. Now I'm getting into the earthquakes down to the south, but first things first, we have to talk about the other earthquakes here in Nevada and at the California border. So far, every one of them so far, right next to a volcano. Mammoth Lakes. Californians, you should already know about Mammoth Mountain. It's a ski resort in Eastern California, but it's also are you ready for it? It's a volcano as well. And it's in the middle. Here it is. Here's Mammoth Mountain. Here's the earthquake. We're at the base of the ski slopes. And on the back side of Mammoth Mountain are the two smaller cinders. These are, again, cones that form from spattering of lava. And this is a supervolcano. This is Long Valley Caldera, and it's been confirmed to be a supervolcano now with 1,000 cubic kilometers of melt down below. And zooming in a little bit more because we've got such a cluster here on the screen. We jump across the border. This should take us over to a ring of dome-like formations that are a ring of what are called laccoliths. It's another complex sounding term just to describe a bulge in the plate caused by magma that comes in. So this ring that's made up of separate ovals, here, 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 here. Let's make sure you can see all this. Over here and here. Some of them have ruptured in the past. This is black basalt. This isn't any kind of tree cover. And it goes down one side of the hill. You can see where it's happened other times, but other types of lava flows have come out. So apparently it intrudes at different levels and takes some kind of big push to come in and actually break it or cause it to collapse, which could also release its contents. So here's our earthquake right next to it, but right here is the U.S. Army Ammo Depot. These are all bunkers where they store ammunition. They don't do any kind of detonation. You don't want any shaking nearby this. Well, makes sense to build it right next to a bunch of volcanoes, eh? Let's go down to the south before we get into the big stack here and go over to the east. These three sets of earthquakes. So I could pull any one of the three. All three are coming inside of an area that, well, I guess you just got to see to believe. So we're going to take you over to the east and show you what's in Nevada. These are not explosions, by the way. These are actual earthquakes. But when you see the location, I think it's going to make a lot more sense. Do you see this right here? And do you see this valley filled with craters? Well, these aren't bombing ranges. These are nuclear test sites. And I can turn on the Google Earth community, which just gives us information on each test. And I'll just click on this one. U.S. Nuke Operation Canfield, May 2nd, 1980, 20 kilotons. So it's a relatively small nuclear blast in comparison to the megaton blast. Now down here is a place called Doomtown. That's a nickname for Operation Rise Line and the town they blew away. You guys may have seen it recreated in the Indiana Jones movie. But this, more test sites. And let's get the nearest one. U.S. Nuke Operation Minute Stake. You kidding me? I think I read about this one before. September 12th, 1969. 5 kilotons. What a name. That'll cook a steak in a minute. Sure will. Well, there we go. So we're right at a nuclear test site. So what does the nuclear test site have in common with the volcanoes? What do the volcanoes have in common with the geothermal drill points? What do the geothermal drill points have in common with our fracking operations over in the Midwest? I think it's pretty obvious. All of these are perforation points in the edge of the plate that are not faults. But yet they're getting hit with the most earthquakes. So perforation points in the edge of the plate are the spots that get hit more than any other thing. It's the spots that Mother Nature seeks out first. Then faults go into motion. Once you get a bunch of areas that are moving, volcanoes, geothermal drill points, oil and gas pumping operations, then you start to see these faults fill in between. Now, previously, before humans stepped in, I think this just happened between our volcanic locations and across the edge of the North American craton naturally. But now we have further interference, which is, I think, aiding in the force flowing across. I can't prove that yet, but I think the geothermal drill points and the volcanoes, when you start to do both at the same location, it's not like it's just a hot spot. You also have a puncture point where Mother Nature has broken to the surface and created actual cinder cones and lava flows, and then that's a double perforation point then. One spot where Mother Nature came up from down below, another spot where humans went down from up above, and therefore it's a double perforated point. Humans have stepped in and caused it to seek out this point. So if they didn't do the geothermal drilling at this point, most likely we would be at a different point, either further down south or further up north at a volcano or along the craton edge. So that's where we take it into Southern California. So where do I pull the earthquakes for this? I mean, there's so many. It's a tremendous hot mess of events over the past couple days. When we include in our zeros and ones, you can see it's pretty much a 25 to 35 mile long stretch and about 25 to 35 miles wide. Now, I want you to imagine this really three-dimensionally. Think of it like a sphere in the ground where it's 25 miles, 30 miles on all sides, like a big beach ball down below in the plate. Okay, think of it that way. Don't just look at it two-dimensionally with a bunch of numbers on the screen. Imagine this three-dimensionally going down into the ground and making a sphere around the area 30 miles wide. That's really the area that's fractured. Or another way to think of it, think of a break in a piece of glass and it spreads out in all directions instead of just across your windshield, for instance. Think of a thick piece of glass where it spreads through the glass and you get a sphere inside that's broken apart. That's what we're dealing with here. But there's something at the location. I'm just going to pull an earthquake from right in the middle. Right directly in the middle of the whole hot mess that's in Southern California. We're watching Southern California for 4 more days for the potential of up to a 7.5 to be striking. Now let's back that out. Well, there's a few things that I think might stand out to the untrained eye even. You'll see these. Let's zoom in a little closer. These are not man-made, by the way, guys. These are natural fractures in the plate. This is surface faulting. This imagery date as of 2017. So breaking in the plate up to the surface, faulting. Look how many there are. Now these faults can be traced back over to here, but we go over to here. Well, let's back it out and show you where it takes us. It takes us to unnamed volcanic butte, does it? Well, unnamed volcanic butte is part of Volcano Peak here. These are all lava flows. Volcano Butte is next to it, and several more smaller volcanoes, ancient, all the way over to the east to Millspa, which is marked. So they'll eventually get those named, or these are the place marks that I downloaded so far. I'm sure this one doesn't even have, I put this pin mark on myself, and there's just nothing for it. Same with this one. It's a lava flow coming off it, going massive all the way down here, down to Volcano Butte. So our big swarm, 30 miles in all directions from here, from the center. Or I should say, 20 miles in one direction, 20 miles in the other. So that's 40 miles. So we're about upper 30s, I would say, at this point in size. We can actually measure the actual distance of this. Hold on. Well, let's find out. How far is it from here to here and from here to here? You'd think the professionals would be doing this on TV or something. That would be much more interesting to watch than the blabbering, blubbering buffoonery that we've been seeing on television. But then again, I don't really watch TV. Okay. Coordinate paste. Let's just put a blank place mark there. And let's measure all the way down to this 2. Whoops. Come on now. There we go. Why am I doing this? We need to know the area that's shifting. We need to know the size of the area, I guess is a better thing to say. And I'm sorry I'm talking so low. My wife is sound asleep upstairs. And we'll put the coordinates in and do a line measurement in miles. We could do it in kilometers for my international viewers and my Canadians and everybody else outside the United States. But screw that. Wow. Look at that. 64 miles. Jeez, that's way bigger than I thought. 64 miles in this direction, and it's about the same in this direction, but let's just find out. Is that the furthest? Oh, there's one more. I mean, I'm not going to call the 1.9s down here in the Mojave part of this, but I would call this. This is, you know, again, that, I mean, that's already, I mean, I just proved it to you. It's 60 miles in one direction, but let's measure from this too. Somebody will compute the actual square mileage once I do this. I won't. I'm not that anal retentive. Although, if you talk to my wife, she might tell you different. Okay, here we go. Another untitled place mark. And let's go all the way over to the east to this 2.6. I mean, you could say this 2.0 is a little further, but I mean, it's a matter of a mile or two. I can't believe 65 miles. A 65-mile wide earthquake swarm. Well, we don't get to see that every day, not just in California, but anywhere on the planet. And we'll get into that, what this could all mean in a second, but 60. 65 by 60. So you could just say 60 by 60. 3,600. Oh, wow. Okay, we're you know, again, or well, 60 by 60 is 360, but then we're computing square miles, okay, guys? That's a big area. If we're doing this three-dimensionally, we go all the way down as well. So from side to side, we're 60 by 60, but you also have to take that Y component, that up and down component, and imagine it 3D. And we're talking about a 60-mile wide bubble or ball. Think of a 60-mile wide ball down to the ground that's fractured apart, centered around right here, where then it spreads 30 miles to the north and 30 miles to the south. So what does that mean? The whole south tip of the valley has been broken apart, and it still continues to sit there and fracture and break and not escape out anywhere so far, at least any significant amount to escape out. So the longer it sits there and breaks, it's going to eventually get to another point where a large stress is released. So this has a cumulative total. It's not like these just expend and go away. Energy doesn't just disappear. So this is a cumulative total that can add up into something even larger, and we don't want to mince words on that if you start seeing new activity that comes in from the northwest of any kind, like 3s or 4s, well, that means new energy is coming in to an already log-jammed situation. So I said we were going to look these all up, and we just got down to this little cluster here, and I'd really like to go start and look these up right at Ventura. Why are we getting a line of earthquakes going from here all the way down to this body of water, Salton Sea? And why, when I went and opened up the plate boundary map and turned on the faults, did the faults just suddenly turn off and I couldn't look at them anymore? I wonder if I can go back and look now. Let's go find out. Tectonic plates, U.S. faults. The fault map has been disabled, guys. Let me close all the windows. All windows are closed, and we're going to do it again. I could click on any one of these normally and open up the fault zones for me to observe. So for me not to get the fault zone map, that's troubling. Let's open it up again. Tectonic plates, U.S. faults. Gone. And you saw them there when I first opened it up. Then I came back to explain it, and they disappeared, and they've not come back. You saw them. They were all those little red lines, and I started to explain it, and they turned them off. How's that? How's that for scientific censorship? My tax dollars going into this shit? Are you serious? You gotta be freaking kidding me, man. All right, we're going to go get the coordinates, and we're going to put them in on Google Earth. The Elsinore fault. It's a well-known fault. What I'm telling you isn't controversial, but when you see what they've done on it, I think you might ask some questions. So here's the earthquake. Where's the earthquake striking? Oh, wow. What do we have here? Do you see it on the screen? Or maybe there's some people that can't see on the screen. We're looking at a couple oil wells, shadows of oil wells. And we go over and we look a few hundred feet over and we have another oil well, and another one, and another one, and another one. And we've got 4 on this pad right here. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 oil wells on that pad. 3 on that one. 4 on this one. Look at this. Well, we've got ourselves a little turbine power station there, probably to power the wells. Okay, take some of that oil and burn it off and power those wells. There we go. So you see how many there are. This is a huge pumping operation at Ventura, and that's where the earthquake is. That's where we start. Let's jump over to the east, go over look up the 1.3. You know what? I wouldn't be looking any of these up if they hadn't blocked the fault zone map. I would have just shown you the faults and been done. But now we're going to go show you all the small earthquakes and where they're striking and why they're striking. So we're zooming in on another location, and I'm starting to see something here that starts to make a little bit more sense. Doesn't that look like we've got ourselves a mining operation going on here? Sure do. We do have a mining operation going on, but we also have something else here. Let's go ahead and turn on our oil and gas place marks. See what we have here right down south of the valley? We've got ourselves another oil pumping operation, just like all the others. I always look within 6 to 10 miles because they drill out at many miles of their own right. Well, let's go find out how many miles this is. 5 miles. I always look 6 to 10 miles. That's 5.7 miles. Now, there may be other nearby pumping operations that I just don't have marked. But they have mines here, and you can tell the mine shaft and so forth. There may be other oil and gas. Also, this goes back in time. This whole area, they did a bunch of oil and gas exploration back in the 1930s and 40s. All kinds of drilling through here. Capped them off with cork and wood well caps down in the ground a few hundred feet. Poured a few bags of concrete, filled it up with dirt, and moved on. And I know that for certain because I have the well reports from 1937 in Riverside. Let's go down to the southeast even a little bit further and just show you what's at Acton, California. Acton. Uh-oh. You guys remember that guy? Okay, let's go put the coordinates in. What's over at Acton? Well, if we could look at the fault zones, it would really help, wouldn't it? Man, if they hadn't cut the info... Oh, wait. Sure does help to have place marks, doesn't it? So let's zoom in. What's here and what's here? Oil. What I just showed you. We're on the same oil pumping operation and we're the same distance, but we're just east. Let me measure. Wait, did I say same distance? Double distance. 12 miles to the east. I look 6 to 10 miles. This goes 1 mile over. There may be other pumping operations nearby. Again, I don't have them all marked. So I have to do some scouring of my own. A lot of times, actually, let's just say over 3/4 of the time, when I don't have them marked, somebody writes me within a day or two and tells me where the nearest well is. And it's always within a few miles, and I'm just missing it somehow because I don't have them marked. So I'm going to venture a guess on this one. And I'm guessing because I can't use the plate boundary map or the tectonic plate map to see if there's a fault there. Let's go try it one more time. Yep. Oh, the tectonic map's off too now. Hold on. Yep. They killed tectonic too. Refresh. Yep. They killed the tectonic plates in the United States only, though. Oh, wait. It was still there for... Look. There's a little sliver of the red line. They missed one. Look. Right here. They missed one. You guys missed one. You missed the plate boundary right there. I can move my mouse back. It's just on one of the mouse scrolls, guys. So USGS, you should be able to easily find it. It's just a little glitch error out of you guys censoring and taking it all away, but it's not. Oh. Well, it's back. Oh, it's gone. Oh, it's back. Oh, it only shows now. Oh, it's gone again. I guess I'm not scrolling my mouse right. Okay, let's move down to the east-southeast and go look at these in East LA, Duarte, California. And I'm sure there's going to be people that tell me, oh, Dutch, don't worry, we're all getting this error. We're all getting shut down. That's fine. The fact that it went down while I was just doing this is just a chance or coincidence. I totally would agree. So where are we? We're in East LA, but we're also right next to something I think you need to see. Take a look. Oil and gas pumping yet once again. Now, are they directly related? If I could show you the fault, I would tell you yes, because we have a spider web of faults that connect across what's called the Elsinore fault system. And all these oil pumping operations that I'm taking so much time to show you, like here at Baldwin Hills or any of the others up at Ventura, they're connected on the Elsinore. It comes down like a lightning bolt shape following this exact line. But then it gets here and it stops and it goes around the outside edge, going over to the Imperial Fault. So professionals now, let's get into what they said. They said that there's going to be a large earthquake down here in LA, potentially in the next few days. Now, I think they're basing that upon the fact that the slow slip slowed down. Anza Gap's still moving, and it really is, going up towards Big Bear on the San Jacinto. Still, it is moving, but it's slowed down. Does that mean there could be a large earthquake? Yes, it certainly could. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong and the 7.7 hits down in LA as opposed to up here right where the current swarm currently is? I mean, the difference would be huge. Right? So the professionals are now issuing warnings for the next few days for the potential of a large earthquake. Did you hear about that? Oh boy. So if you live in California, I don't want you to move away. I don't want you to run away. I don't want you to do anything different than you normally do, other than to have an emergency plan and over the next 4 days to be ready. And you can just be prepared more than the other people who don't know to be prepared. See, when a large earthquake hits, if you know it's coming, it becomes a eureka moment. It's a oh, there it is moment, as opposed to, oh my God, what's happening? How big is it? That kind of thing. When the big one hits in the next few days, not the big one, I'm talking when a large earthquake hits in the next few days, if it doesn't escape out over into Oklahoma in the next few days, and this earthquake develops, the people who we've warned will, of course, have a there it is moment. They'll be like, there it is. It's like a storm. So if you're waiting for a storm to come, you think there's going to be tornadoes, and they forecast tornadoes, and then all of a sudden a tornado forms, and you're like, there it is. As opposed to all the other people who aren't paying attention. Don't pay attention to the weather at all. They're like, oh my God, it's a tornado, and they go ballistic. When the other people who were chasing the tornado drive by because they knew to expect it. They were in the area waiting for it to happen. So, I want you to take away from this a few things. First, energy transfers across the plate from the northwest to the southeast. If you start seeing new earthquakes develop in Alaska and come down here along the coast of the United States, you now know to watch for energy to come into California. In other words, this is the direction that the earthquakes come in from the northwest. Now, that completely flies in the face of what everybody's ever been taught, but I'm sorry, earthquakes are coming in from the northwest. And they go down to Southern California, then transfer east, hopefully. And if it doesn't, that's where we get into a situation like we're at right now. Somebody wrote me in chat and said, my son lives in LA. Do I need to get him out of LA? Well, these are going to be decisions that you guys have to make. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A 7.5 is a big earthquake. I think most of the structures in LA are capable of withstanding 7.0 activity. I really do. I think that if you're in a brick or a cinder block structure even, that you have the time to exit the structure. So I would recommend, instead of leaving the state or the city, that I would have an appropriate exit plan from your building and know what's outside. It's just basic stuff. I mean, you don't leave because of natural disasters. I mean, I don't move from Missouri because of tornadoes every year that come in right next to my house. We deal with them, we plan, we prepare, and we watch the weather, and we watch the forecast, and we even do our own forecasting. The same would go for you. So you don't have to do your own forecasting. I have explained how to do it if you want to go follow directions, but I'm giving you the basics here. The flow comes in from the northwest, and it goes down to the southeast. It's stuck in the southeast portion of California right now. The longer it hammers away here, 60 miles by 60 miles by 60 miles, that's a huge area underground that's fracturing apart. That means there's a potential for at least one more, unless it goes somewhere else. Energy has to go somewhere. It doesn't just disappear. Okay? Let's quickly recap what happened overseas in case you're just now tuning in. You don't know. A new deep earthquake struck over in Japan. This 4.1 on our letter D, by the way, stands for deep earthquakes. And a 4.5 on the coast of Honshu. Down here, South Pacific, we're right next to Fiji. And we have an equal distance spread of the same sized earthquakes. And these are right down to the hair of a point of one another. 5.1, 4.9, 5.0, 5.1, 4.9, 4.9. And then here, a 5.6. But that 5.6 is really just back where the 6.0 struck a few days ago. So I don't want to call it an aftershock. It's 400 miles away. So it's just right in the same area. And this spacing, look at the spacing on these earthquakes. These two 4.9s are nestled in between the 5s. Over to the west, same-sized earthquake, 5.5 to 5.6, also struck, but we have Mount Manam. You see where the two sets of rings overlap? Well, right next to this, here's Mount Manam, and it just put off another 20,000-foot high blast. You'll also notice no earthquakes reported across any of these areas. beyond over into Indonesia. Well, guys, unfortunately, the USGS doesn't report 4.0 to 5.0 earthquakes in Indonesia, usually. Did you know that? Go over and check the USGS site. You'll see it here blank all the time. The Europeans report the earthquakes out of here. The USGS omits the 4s and sometimes 5s that strike across Indonesia on many instances. It's not that it's gone quiet, it's that the USGS isn't reporting the earthquakes here, and the Europeans are clogged up right now. Their feed, most of the European feed, is filled up with the US quakes. So there are no earthquakes recorded across Indonesia. I would say, though, that there is the potential still in Indonesia for large earthquake activity, and that's based upon the deep earthquakes. We never saw our 7.7, still waiting for that. And I told you I'm not going to cancel it. We're waiting for the 7.7 to hit. Now somebody did tell me, look, Dutch, this what was it, yesterday? They said Indonesia looks like it's starting to go quiet. And I said, look, it's going quiet at the same time that the feeds are filling up with the earthquakes over in U.S. I think that might be just due to a technical reason. That's a famous last words kind of thing, because as soon as you say that, that's when the big earthquake hits of all time. So I just want you to be ready. It's gone quiet here. It looks like it's an outage because of, again, the number of earthquakes on the feed. But if Indonesia really did stop moving for 2 days, this is 48 hours. Did Indonesia really stop moving for 2 days? I mean, if it did, we're looking at the biggest earthquake to strike Indonesia in years. So I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that's an outage that's explained by lots of earthquakes on the feed, filling it up, and the Europeans reporting the quakes here, the USGS omitting the earthquakes here. This is a case of the USGS hiding earthquakes. I saw them address this in that press conference. They said it was a conspiracy theory. Well, I can prove it's a conspiracy fact. I can prove it's a conspiracy fact that they don't report many 4.5 and greater earthquakes around the planet. Many. So many you wouldn't believe it. Hundreds. China and Russia? Hundreds of 4s and 5s striking throughout the year. USGS, IRIS, omitting, and even the Europeans somewhat, omitting the earthquakes. The Europeans, to their credit, will put it on the back-end seismologist study page and let seismologists study it, but don't report it to the public. So if you're doing studies and you go over and use the USGS site and say, how many 5.0 and greater earthquakes struck on the planet in the last year? Well, that's a BS number if I ever saw it. And not only is it wrong, it's way wrong. And if you have research or studies based on it, if I ever get some extra time on my hands, I'm just so wanting to go out and find some studies to just contact them all and say, you know what, I just found out all your research is wrong. And just watch them all melt down, because they're trying to say that it's a conspiracy theory that there are no earthquakes being reported out of China and Russia for weeks on end. Do you think that there are no earthquakes that strike across China and Russia until somebody gets online and complains, and then all of a sudden an earthquake appears in China and Russia? That's very strange. Occam's razor is what I look for, and that says to me, outage and left out. Not because Mother Nature's leaving out. Do you think earthquakes stop at borders? How would Mother Nature know what a border is and know where to stop at? Interesting. Now we have a line of earthquakes going across Iran, Turkey, South Greece, Europe, going all the way out to the mid-Atlantic ridge. Yesterday, when this struck here, and 2 days ago there was a mid-range 4 that struck down here between Crete and Cyprus. When those two 4s struck, I issued a warning up here for the same sized earthquake. Well, look what hit. 4.4, 4.3, 4.6. 2 sets of them. So, same sized earthquakes that struck down in South Europe went out and struck all the way up here next to Iceland. Again, just as we told you to look for. Now, the stepping stone in between there is Poland, and lo and behold, it also got a 4.4 and 4.7. Same time that 4s are going across North Europe, 3s, all the same size, went down across South Europe, Mediterranean, North Africa. 3.1 North Algeria, 3.0 down at the Canaries, and 3.3 all the way out at the Azores, with 2s right along the plate boundary. If I could show you the plate boundary map, which I don't know if it's going to open. Oh, there it is. Oh. Oh, there it is. At this, I can zoom in, I can zoom out this far and it shows. If I zoom in any further, it's going to disappear. There it goes. It starts to disappear when I want to zoom in on it. Isn't that wonderful how they're doing that? So, all right. Look out of Europe. You see this? Comes over, goes to the west, meets up here. This is the plate boundary. Goes up into Italy, goes west, south of Greece, Crete, Cyprus, then goes over further to the west, over into Iran. Well, I just told you, there's a line of earthquakes, all the same size. Look, going from Iran, following the plate boundary, up across Italy, going across the Mediterranean, out to the Azores. So South Mediterranean, we have a 3 here. Here, we have the 2s, we have a 3 here, and we have a 3 here. We go back up, all 2s, 3s here, 3s here, 3s here, 3s here, 3s here. Following the plate boundary. Now a 4.5 struck down here 2 days ago, 4.7 struck here in Poland, 4.5 to 4.7 struck north of Iceland. Now let's match that with my arrows. How about that? So, energy flows around the edge of the craton perfectly, and it maintains momentum. Start with a 4.5 down here, and with a 4.5 up here, or a 4.4. That's not much loss of energy transferring across a whole continent, is it? So, maintaining momentum. And down here, 3.2, 3.1, 3.3. If you take the 3.2 plus the 3.1, you get 3.3, by the way. So, then, to top it all off, do you see this earthquake raised high off the globe here? There we go. That earthquake raised high off the globe is a deep earthquake. And I went and looked it up last night, going into this morning. Let's do it again. Let's go look it up again. 294 kilometers deep, southern Italy. Should bring us in right next to Mount Stromboli and Mount Etna. So we looked it up last night. I told everybody, look, deep earthquake in Italy. When it's by a volcano, we have to watch that volcano for a new eruption to take place. That's exactly what we said last night. Then I said, I don't forecast eruptions, but when I see a deep earthquake like that by a volcano, I have to tell you. So here's Mount Etna, here's Mount Stromboli. Now look what happened today. Volcanic Ash Advisory Center. Let's go down the list. Where is it? Where is it? Ah, there it is. All of a sudden, Etna starts putting off ash clouds to the point where they're putting out warnings for pilots. I just, for the life of me, guys, flight level 10,000, or flight level 100, which is 10,000 feet. I just, again, this is not rocket scientist stuff, but this does take a little bit of observation. You get a deep earthquake down below a volcano and you don't think it's going to cause something. I mean, what are the professionals thinking? So, just to take you back over to California, let's get back into it. We're looking in California for the potential of up to a 7.6 the next 4 days. If this doesn't escape out fully over into the Midwest and follow the edge of the North American craton. So, Oklahoma, Colorado, West Texas. If we don't see a big increase in earthquakes in the next several days, Southern California is due for a large quake again. I hope it doesn't hit. I hope it transfers to the east. The chance of it just disappearing is impossible. Energy doesn't disappear. So we've got a lot of energy deposited here. It's going to lead to a new earthquake, either or a series of earthquakes over to the east and the Midwest, or a big one down at Cyrils Valley. The professionals have warned LA. I mean, you will feel it in LA if it's a 7.5, but if it stays out in Cyrils Valley like I think it will, or out in the valley, out in the deserts over to the east, it'll affect a lot less people. It'll still be felt all the way to the coast. I mean, this past 7.1 was causing pools, people's swimming pools, to slosh all the way down at the coast in LA. Or north of LA, Tarzana, Simi Valley. I mean, that's pretty far to get pools sloshing big time back and forth. That was a 7.1. So if we go up another half magnitude, that's 100 times more powerful. So we hope it escapes out. We hope the logjam breaks. You don't need to leave LA. You need to have a plan and be prepared. The professionals are warning LA. I'm warning the desert. We'll see which comes to fruition, if any. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Your emergency kit should address your summer needs. So make sure, of course, it's summertime in California. Water. You're going to need to have some water. I know it's going to, 7 pounds per gallon. It's going to be heavy. Or whatever the weight of water is. I think it's 7 pounds a gallon. But it's going to be heavy, but you're going to need it. And for a change of clothes, set of shoes, summer specific, set of car keys or house keys, insurance, if you have any, extra money if you have any, and debit card, of course. And you'll think of other things, first aid kit, sanitation. But flashlight, batteries is an essential for everything. And you can use your emergency kit for other situations. You ever have a forest fire, you ever have a flood coming your way, well, you don't have to fumble around for your ID anymore or a set of car keys. You go grab your emergency kit, you're on your way. Sometimes it takes me 5 minutes to find my car keys, dang it. I know it sounds crazy, but some people just can't remember where they put them. Okay, I'm one of them. But in all seriousness, if the power's out and everything's falling around and you got to get outside, you might not be coming back in for a while. So have all those things set into a bag. Have the bag somewhere easily accessible nearby a door, and know which door you're going to go out. So many videos in earthquakes of people running around, going to different spots, not knowing what to do and where to go. Running from this corner to that corner, stopping this from falling and that from falling. Well, these are preparations you can make ahead of time for the things in your house, but you need to know where to go. Are you going to go outside, or are you going to take shelter in place? Those are your options. If you're not confident in your structure, well, you're going to be going outside, which means you need to know what's outside, and you need to have that kit, the emergency kit. Shouldn't cost a lot of money. I know a lot of people like to spend a lot on these things, but you should already have most of this stuff, and if you don't have it, you can get most of it at like the dollar store, basically. And we're just talking day 1 or day 2 of a disaster. On day 1 or day 2 of the disaster, that's when most people have the most injuries and fatalities. After that, people start to kind of rubber band out a little bit and get used to the situation somewhat. Now, I think of a hurricane situation. That's probably the only one where there's flooding that happens a few days after that's worse than when the hurricane hits itself. That's the only one that gets worse over time, guys. So with the earthquake, after a few days, now a lot of people wait for the government. Now, I know some people do. That's okay. I wouldn't wait for somebody to come save you or to come bring you some food or water. I would have that set up ahead of time. You don't want to get caught off guard or be waiting for Big Brother to deliver something to you. Very seldom does Big Brother do anything right, let alone deliver water. Can't even fix a pothole. So, 3:58 a.m. I've been up for almost full 48 hours, and I think it's a good time for me to call it quits right now. If you don't know what happened to me this day, I've got to just, I don't even know where to begin. I'm not going to be talking about it much. I've been told not to talk about it much. Okay, fine. But it happened, and it's crazy. But I hope you guys get something from my updates. I hope this is all worth it for me in the end. Not you, for me. That I'm not just throwing myself beneath this steamroller of a machine to not make a difference. And I hope you guys also warn the people in California for the next 4 days, and here's what you tell them. You tell them they are sandwiched in between the Juan de Fuca that's pushing down into California, and it's log jammed at Cerros Valley. So if you're sandwiched in between anywhere from the Juan de Fuca, which is basically Northwest California, all the way down to Cerros Valley, I want you to be on watch for the next several days for the potential of another large earthquake if this doesn't go to Oklahoma, Texas in the next few days. So we're watching close. When's it going to go to the Midwest? And when it comes to the Midwest, man, I'm waiting because that's where I live. So it's going to come my way, somewhat.
Oklahoma, that's pretty close. If it gets big, we might even feel it here in Missouri. But we'll wait and see. Don't want to get ahead of myself. We're watching the West Coast for the next 4 days. And that's what I want you to tell your friends, family, loved ones, coworkers. Nothing to be too alarmed about. I mean, you do live in earthquake country. This is just something you would watch for, like a storm coming your way. And the appropriate precautions are pretty basic. I mean, it means fastening down loose objects, going about your daily business, but being aware, have an emergency kit in your car and your house. If you're going to be going to bed, of course you're going to be sleeping in the next few days, like I have, I guess. Need to? Well, you guys, you need to keep a change of clothes and a set of shoes by the side of your bed. You don't need to sleep in your clothes, but the change of clothes and side of shoes. Change of clothes and set of shoes by the side of your bed. I've been up for 48 hours, can you tell? It's getting all mixed up now. Don't want to be too jovial, but I do want to tell you, even a set of shoes by your bed could make a big difference with the broken glass and things that could be on the floor when a disaster happens like this. So I don't think we're done yet. And that's what I want to stress to you the most. Have a good one, guys. Be safe. And I'll be back if anything else goes down. Peace out.